Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first podcast of the DMAs. For those who don't know who or what the DMAs are, what is it?
What it is and what it is not.
What it is not. It is not,
It is not.
Digital Marketing Awards, no.
Yeah.
It's the Digital Media Awards.
Yeah.
And today we are going to have some discussions. I'm Steve Yamina. And today we have two gentlemen, titans, in studio with us. To my right,
I'm Brian Jagi. I'm a creative director, a fan of creativity, and I also happen to be the chairperson of the DMA committee.
I thought you'd leave out the chairperson side. You're not saying, yeah, he's the Bwana chairman. If you don't say it like that, when you're nalipa bill. And to my left,
Hello, my name is Maurice Wangalachi, popularly known as Riz. I'm a creative director, a very long-time advertising practitioner. I think matters of hierarchy, I'll build my profile as we go. Today, I'm under the auspices of the chairman for the DMA, and I'm just glad to be here.
That's dope. So, I know today's topic is DMA Untamed, but Mr. Chairman, first of all, can you just tell us what is DMA to the guys who don't know?
So DMA, like Yamina said, is the Digital Media Awards. They started in 2017, I believe, with two amazing ladies called Modoni Mumo and Rita. And they started DMAs basically to find us a space for digital media and digital executions in the creativity space to be recognized. If you can think about where we were 8-9 years ago, digital was not the biggest thing in the world, It was just beginning to get its feet going. So Modoni and Rita are basically a bit of a visionary to see that digital is going somewhere, and you need to start shaping what that digital world looks like. It was also part of the Digital and Technology Week, which they used to also host. So the DMA used to be like the culmination of the Digital and Technology Week. And 8-9 years later, this is where the DMA is today, where we've become, I would say, the premier award show in Kenya and in East Africa, actually, because at the moment we're the only East African award show that exists. And we had our last DMA award show in Naivasha last year in December.
Yeah, those were nice.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing how far we can take this child.
Wangalach. I heard him call you that. I don't know which name you prefer to go by, but I'll use that. It sounds nice.
It depends. When I'm looking for intimidation and dominance, I use Wangalachi.
It sounds very raw and Africa.
Yes, it is. And remember, the DMA is about going wild, being untamed. So I think Wangalachi puts me in that space. But today we want to be conversational, and we want to share across what we know and how happy we are about the DMAs. So I'm gonna keep it Riz.
Yeah.
I think to add on to what Brian has said, it's pretty much touched on everything that's important. So for me, I'm just gonna paraphrase at the risk of mansplaining. But I joined the DMAs a bit late, and I'm glad I joined a bit later because for me, I was able to appreciate what had already gone into it. Because as most things tend to happen, people never see the labor or the work that goes into something. You only see the finished product. So I did come in at a very nice time. I came in, I've been active for 2 years now in a row. But what I've seen the progression of it and the development year on year. And I think I just marvel and appreciate and acknowledge what must have gone into it when I try and imagine that they started this dream, 8 years ago. Or 9 years ago, for that matter. So I think to say that it was an incredible foresight is an understatement. To Brian's point, and these were visionaries, and to try and imagine they're trying to already create a digital-first ecosystem when people are still, thinking that this is something that's just far off in the future. And now we're particularly happy because where we are with the DMS at the moment, and with all the excitement and all the pomp and people talking about AI, you kind of feel like, it's a perfect force fit. However, what you're trying to do is, again, to conform. Because remember, like I said earlier on, last year's DMA, the theme was, go wild. And this year is the DMA Untamed. And I think we kind of feel like that is really emblematic of who we are. As much as we're creatives and we are thinkers and we look at the digital media, we also don't want people to feel, to feel hindered or to be confined in any shape or form. Creativity is all about, freedom and thinking and enjoying it. So again, like I said, without running the risk of mansplaining Brian, that is my take on that.
Yeah. Funny enough, I also joined a bit late, but maybe about 4 years, but as a person who was applying.
Yes.
Right? So that was my first contact.
Yeah.
The first year we got 0. It was during COVID, actually. It was held at the, not the hub, the other one, the waterfront. Yeah. It was really, really dope. Really, really dope.
That's when Densu came with all the fancy buses, yeah?
Man, I saw that bus. I'm like, man, we need to have more, like, you know.
Yeah. I know. I also felt the same because I was left in the office by the bus.
Oh, you were at Densu at that time?
I was at Densu.
Oh, okay.
He was at Densu and he missed the bus.
Imagine.
Wow, it was really good. You missed a lot.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So there's always a debate around awards, around the importance, the impact, both to the clients that you're submitting for, and to the people who are receiving the awards, and the perception around awards. Can you just take me through? Like, is it important? Are awards important, and why?
For the longest time, I used to not be a really, really strong believer in awards, because I'm the kind of creative who likes creating and loves to see the work, loves to be in the depth of creating the work, and loves to see happiness in people's faces. But then quickly I came to realize awards actually dictate, and they are what make the world go round in advertising. Simply put, awards are what measures your creative excellence in advertising.
Yeah.
You can have 1 million people saying how great your ad is, but without an award, it's never validated, So awards usually are the yardstick to decide who is doing the best work in a particular category, in a particular space in advertising, and which agencies are doing their best work as well in that space. And ultimately, you come to realize if you stay in agency long enough, that's also it's also what's going to win you new clients, because new clients wants to be with those guys who are winning awards, because for them they've figured if you're winning awards, there must be something you're doing well for your clients. So for me, I think awards are not about just the glittery stuff we all see on the socials and on our pages. It's about the recognition of what people are actually doing with their work, the creativity, the sweat, the blood, the tears that they've put in. That's what that award is validating. That's what this medal is actually recognizing and appreciating.
This one back here.
The one here. I don't know what it is for. Maybe you can tell us about it at some point. But if you tell us about the campaign, we'll appreciate that award even more.
So, from where I'm sitting, I think adults are missing the things that used to happen in primary school, podium 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Maybe during sports day, there's number 1, 2, 3 guys who are running. But it gets to a point, I think, after uni, maybe you get your certificate. That's probably the last award. Is this an excuse to feed into an adult need for recognition?
Yeah.
Perhaps and perhaps not. I think the thing is that awards, especially in the context of why we're here, awards serve to incentivize. And like Brian said, sometimes, everybody will, again, how good you are is very subjective. Everybody thinks they're amazing. No one ever says, I'm just good enough, or I'm okay with number 2 or number 3 or number 4. You always want to put your best foot forward. And creativity is not different. In fact, creativity has got a lot of pressure, because how do you tell somebody that, I am one of the best, creative practitioners, either in this room, in this country, in this region, or in this continent, right? So that means that you got to do work that's good enough to be judged by a third party who does not even know maybe your background or your name or what you look like, and they're only supposed to judge you based on your work. So if your work really does tick all those boxes, and your work is unequivocably good, then it means you're really, really that good. And why again awards are important is that awards, they kind of shine the light on not just your capabilities, but the people you work with, or the company you represent, or the subject matter you're talking about. So I might talk about a subject that's close to me by virtue of maybe my cultural background, by virtue of the market I come from. And when I tell you something like that, you quickly understand it, because you're Kenyan, you're African, you're a man. But imagine me trying to say the same thing to somebody who has no context of where I'm coming from, and to say it in such a way that it's compelling enough for them to think, this is really, really dope. That's advertising, that's creativity, that's digital media awards, whereby we want to incentivize people in recognizing and celebrating innovation, authenticity, craft, and excellence. To some people, maybe not even heard of some of these people, some of these brands. If you do it to the best of your ability and to the best of your craft, and the passion is seen in what you do, then you certainly deserve to be awarded. And not just be awarded as a bio miscellaneously, but to be awarded by the level of what your performance is. So awards are very important. Awards are what incentivize us. And to back to your comment, if you look at awards from primary school level, they drove us.
True.
They put a fire in us. And again, sometimes it wasn't even just us. When you went home, your parents were like, what number did you come in class? It was as if you came number 10 or 11 in a class of geniuses, you're not good enough. So an award was always a collateral that you show people, this is how good I am. So awards should not just stop at primary school level. Awards should be something that you're tokened because they're being celebrated, and they should not have like an age get to them. I want to be awarded till the day you guys put me in the soil.
No.
You can count on it.
Yeah.
Actually, to add one more thing still, in a very short, brief way. I think also from an industry level, awards elevate the work.
Yeah.
Awards allow you to see a benchmark for what everyone else should be aiming for. I'll give an example, which Mr. Yamina might be familiar with. You take a global brand, you localize their messaging. Let's say it's Carrefour. You localize their messaging, and suddenly people can now start seeing how, if I want to localize a message for this global brand that I have in my agency, there's a good benchmark to use. Carrefour have done it, therefore we can take that template and apply it. Without awards, you don't get to appreciate that actually this was actually some good work, some great work that needs to be emulated. But awards now make that become something that people want to do and make the industry better as we go forward.
But then you guys are right, because anytime I do work, I always think of the people who will see it, right? Yeah. The impact, of course, it will have, and the people will see it. Yeah. Now, every time I do work after I've been, from the times you started doing awards, I see it from a different lens, right? Because also this award shows are governed around the things that are looked for, that are worthy, yeah? So what are these things that, anyone who's creating, anyone who wants to submit should look out for, so that when there's a winner, we know for sure these are the things. And I think there are changes over the years. Can you take us through a bit of that? What has changed?
I'll start, then I'll take it to Riz, because Riz has many
Ama tuanze na Riz.
of experience. Wacha anaanza pia. Though akianza atamaliza points.
Oh Lord. So I'll be I'll make this very democratic and also be benevolent. So I think I'll just touch on one or two items and he can finish off for me. Yeah. I think the awards are awarded based upon a criteria. But there's a standard to most of these criteria, and it's also been evolving. If you look at the way work is awarded now, it needs to be, apart from just it being, done to the best level of craft and excellence. An award is awarded based on is the idea original enough or original? Is the idea authentic? Because that's very important. Because you can have an original idea, but it's not authentic like maybe to us. It doesn't have the cultural nuancing and relevance that we're looking for. You can't just take something that works very well in Europe or South America or Asia and kind of copy paste and say, hey, here we go, big global idea or big global brand, and it's got to work and force feed it on us. And also, when you're, before you get to crafting, is this award awarded to an idea or a project that's actually addressing an existing problem? Because you can have a real problem and you can have a perceived problem, right? And then is it addressing and solving the problem, in a way that does not demean a particular audience, in a way that, sometimes you can have a work or a piece of project that's actually tone deaf. Are we considerate enough that we think about maybe people's religious beliefs, people's cultures, genders, and what have you? And then finally, when you think about it, and again, I'm still going to leave a couple of points for Brian to, embellish, is you think when you look at like some of the award-winning work, when all is said and done, is that does also the award transform a business, or does it transform a brand, or does it transform a people, does it change a mindset? Because sometimes an award can just be for award's sake. the way you can have tech for tech's sake. But is this helpful? Is it educating? Is this transforming? Is it changing a mindset? So when you look at all these things put together and they tick these boxes adequately, then you feel that, or you feel compelled to award, that particular job. And when you look at the awards now, they're so integrated that when people see a brand as a won a particular award, and it elicits a curiosity for them to find out more about the award, they wind up finding about what the problem the award was solving, what brand was involved in the award. And so again, you find it becomes a journey. Yeah. So when you're awarding work, you take all these things into consideration. I had promised to be benevolent in my comments, so I will now hand over to my.
You've left him with the scripts.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Yeah. So actually, for the DMAs, since last year, we've been using the Luris. Yeah. The Luris is a South African.
Yeah, that was really nice, actually. Yeah.
So the beauty of that, it allows us to use their technology, use their experience, use their resources, but also finally use their judging platform and criteria.
What are Loris?
So the Loris are a regional award show. Headquartered in South Africa, but they award Africa and the Middle East.
Okay.
So if you are in this part of the world, that's the benchmark for the best work that's coming out of this part of the world. And us partnering with them or us collaborating with them then allows us then to also raise our level of execution and the craft that we use in running the whole DMA. And there are two things which I think, so Riz mentioned, idea, execution, and brand impact, or even impact to the society. There are two other things which you look at when you're judging award shows. The relevance to the brand, right? You can have the most amazing idea, but does it actually fit the brand you're telling it to do? I'll give an example. There's a current thing I'm judging, and in one of the pieces I've judged, they have, should I name it? Let me just say WRC, but it's not WRC. An organization like WRC, which is about racing.
It's a holding. WRC is a holding.
It's a holding. So it's like WRC for racing and an organization like Safaricom for speed, right? So they've partnered, and they are now making podcasts to help people fall to sleep faster. Yeah. An amazing idea, but what is WRC and Safaricom doing in your bed, telling you to sleep? Like there's no correlation. So the relevance to the brand, you have to find an idea that actually fits a brand, and you'll find with people like Riz, when you bring an idea to them, they'll be like, which brand actually feels like they can own this idea rightfully and authentically? The second thing is relevance to the audience. So when you think about your idea as well, you could be having the most amazing idea, but maybe you're talking about Singleton, and the idea you have can only work for Tusker. I'm using this because these are my ABL brands.
Yeah.
It could be.
I knew you had to drop them somewhere
at some point
before this thing ended. Yeah.
Next time we'll come with actual products, samples. Yeah. So at the same time, amazing idea, but because your audience is not a Singleton audience, again, it falls flat. Yeah. So you have to make sure all these things are being checked off in your mind before you present or create an idea. Yeah.
And speaking of evolution of DMA, and I think, Riz, you had just mentioned earlier about how creativity is very subjective. I noticed something different last year.
Yes.
Where the award was not a 1, 2, 3. It was about awarding even one category I could see had like 2 number ones.
Yes.
Just take us through that evolution and why that's important.
So when you are awarding, and traditionally it was like 1, 2, 3, sometimes there'd be a beautiful dilemma whereby you've got you have like 2 entries that are very good and they're at a tie. Yeah. And so for the sake of admin, you can say this will be the first one, this is the second one, but then you'll have done an injustice. If a piece of work or an entry is incredible enough to be awarded a gold, then, and there's another one that's also equally incredible enough, then there'd be that rare occasion whereby both of them will be awarded a gold. But also in an interesting case also, sometimes there are categories whereby we don't award, we will not, or I'm saying we because I've been a judge at the Luris. I've also been a judge at Cannes.
I thought you were speaking French by saying we.
We were this past weekend.
So how we normally look at awards and how we award them is that first and foremost, there's a general rule that you don't talk down work. You always talk work up.
Yeah.
Because there's a instinctive sometimes need whereby people find it's easier to throw a diss
Yeah,
a compliment.
it's true. Yeah.
And sometimes some of the work that you're looking at, there's a lot of pain and tears and passion has gone into it. But back to your comment, is that not on all occasions are you compelled to award a gold if work's not at that level. But sometimes you get occasions whereby the work is so good and so numerous, then there's no point in holding back and doing an injustice by not awarding 2 gold winners, or if possible 3. And right now that is increasingly happening because, like you said again, it's an evolution. And also what has happened is to talk about the Luries, and also to add on to what Brian said earlier, the Luries this year celebrate there'll be the 47th anniversary. So they've been around quite a while. So they have a very rich heritage of judging very, very good work. And initially the Luries were predominantly on the African continent, like celebrating excellence on the African continent, and mainly being, in the sub-Saharan region. But what happened in 2023, they did expand that envelope to now rope in what they call the Middle East and Africa. And the Middle East is all that swathe of region between Africa itself and all the way to Dubai. So in that, they also created a new subcategory that included the islands, which is Madagascar, Mauritius, and Reunion. So if you take part in the Luries, and if you're part of the Luries, as the DMAs are, it does give us a lot of validation on just the recognition of the kind of quality of work we're bringing to the table. So they don't just co-opt you as an act of generosity, but they go through a very rigorous criteria to say, are you good enough? And one thing, and I'm sure Brian's going to touch on it at a later stage, Kenya has become a focal point of very good work. Kenya has become a focal point of very good best practice. Kenya is very known for athletes. I mean, anytime somebody's on a track and they're winning medals, it comes as no surprise.
Yeah.
But what people don't know is that there's also other athletes who are coming into the limelight right now, and these are creative athletes. So it's a Kenya is a not a Kenyan mindset, but it's a local mindset. And these are the sort of things that we're looking to celebrate, that we've got a lot to bring onto the table, to the point whereby we have now been co-opted into the Luries. And the DMA is now part of that, amazing platform.
So, looking at the DMAs and the work, do you think, Brian, that, is also Brian, that the work has been improving, right? And Riz, you can also feed into this. Has the work been improving over the years?
Yes. That's a very resounding yes. I think the first time I went to DMA was in 2019 or 2020, actually. Yeah. So I went there and I remember a lot of the work that you would see then was from agencies. At that point, I was in Coco. I think you guys also, that's the you said you part for the first time. So the volume plus the quality was not what you're seeing today. Because right now we have more work and much better work. The standard of quality of what the work is looking like has gotten better and better. And also, I guess, also another way to view it is the work from the Kenyan space has been getting to more international award shows more and more. Year on year, there's an incremental rise of the kind of work we are putting out and the kind of work that is winning out there internationally. So the DMA is definitely springboarding that kind of a thing, because the work we saw last year, win gold. If you put it this year, it's probably not going to win gold, because like you've seen that before, So you have to always get better at what you're doing for you to raise the benchmark and get better work out there. So yes, resoundingly yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
When Riz, during the break, Brian said, it is what it is. Mr. Riz.
It is what it is. I think, and thank you for that, Brian and Yamina. For me, I also saw something else, because like I said, this is, I've taken part in DMS for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But what I did see significantly change was not even the quality of work per se, but the quality of casing. And I'll explain that in a bit. So sometimes you can do very good work, but you might not get the opportunity to get an award because of how you explain the kind of work you did. So whenever we are making submissions for awards, we do what we call a case study. This is the context in that leads up, to you submitting the work, where the idea came from, the process which you went about it, and putting together then it's statistics to support the kind of work that you put out, this statistics transformational, in terms of how they were taken up either by the consumer or, the populace at large. So what I did see when I took part first in the DMA's 2023, I did see some good work, but I think some people, for quite a number of people, it was also like the first time they're taking part in it, because the popularity was increasing year on year. And so what I did see there was good, but not spectacular. But also, I came with some bias, because I'd come judging on different platforms, and also I didn't want to judge benevolently because this was regional work, like it was work from Kenya.
Yeah.
I wanted to look at it, with that impartiality of like we're looking at that quality and standard and what have you. So some of the work, it was a bit painful to see that they could have ranked higher, but it was kind of like when they did the case study, they kind of stopped where they should have continued or begun. However, I was pleasantly surprised last year. Not only was the quality of work better than the previous year, the casing was good. I think people had gone back and gone to the drawing board and thought, why didn't we fare better? And I think also they must have consulted, because the casing was really of international standards, which was very pleasing to know. And which was very gratifying to know that we are part of something that is not just kienyeji, for lack of a better word, but it's of international standards. But also even the hosting, because everything affects everything. The quality of work was amazing. The panel of jury was incredible and remarkable. But even we hosted in a very exotic location. So the whole, I think that the whole...
That was really nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. So I think the whole thing showed growth. Growth in the level of the entries and the quality of it, but also growth with us as an organization, as an awarding enterprise, that, we wanted to bring the glitz and glamour apart from just celebrating creative excellence. So there has been that remarked growth.
All right, so there's so much we can talk about, but let's just hear from the chairman on the plans. And you've just talked about casing. I remember the first time we submitted PDFs.
Yes.
That's when we won 0. Definitely no one is reading a PDF, so maybe we need to do a proper one on casing.
I saw that also. I saw that in 2023. The first time I took part as a judge, I saw some cases, and people submitted PDFs and Word documents, and I wanted to go to the car park and cry.
Yeah. So we'll do one on that later, on how to increase your chances. Maybe episode 3 or 4, we'll decide. But Chairman, as we wind up, what do you see the DMAs doing? What are the plans this year?
Yeah. So last year was the first year we had a DMA committee ever. Before that, the two wonderful ladies I already mentioned, Modoni and Rita, were pulling this cut themselves. They were wise enough to acknowledge that it takes a village. And as the DMA was growing, there was a need for more hands on deck to help the DMA unleash its full potential. So the first committee, of course, sat last year, and for most of us, because it was also the first time we were sitting as a committee, we didn't know how much we could do, but I guess we did enough. We had, like I said, we took the DMA to Naivasha. First time we had the DMAs go across East Africa. We had submissions from the 3 East African countries. Yeah. And I think all in all, it was a really wonderful experience last year. So this year, what we're looking to do is, first of all, for the sake of growing and continuing our industry to the next level, we are bringing something called DMAZ. DMAZ is supposed to be a DMA subcommittee or a DMA committee, but for the youth. People are between 18 and 25 years old. We acknowledge that we'll never be here forever. Ultimately, we need to pass the baton to someone. And what we are hoping to do is also get these fresh ideas from the youth, but also ultimately get them to understand the industry better, and finally get them to spread the word about what DMA can do, and they can grow their careers in the process. So that's one thing we want to launch in the next few weeks. Depending on when you're listening to this, it could be today's in the March.
It could be tomorrow.
It could be tomorrow. We are in March 2025, so in the next few weeks, we want to launch DMAZ.
Yeah.
Something else that also DMA does is the DMAX events, which are usually hosted events where...
Actually, we are hosting the next one probably on 18th.
Oh, amazing.
It's on the date, but we'll see.
Next week? Oh, 18th of which month?
No, of April.
Oh, April. I was like...
No, not next week, April.
So DMAX is basically that you get to host industry stakeholders, creatives, clients, anyone who's in the industry actually can just come. You pick a topic that you're knowledgeable in, and you share that topic with the stakeholders. So last year we had topics like casing, topics like categories, So just finding relevant topics that people may need to learn from. So this year we want to ramp that up. We want to get more agencies involved, more clients involved, more brand teams essentially involved. We want to make DMAX, a calendar event that when you hear it's happening, you just go there to share and sip from the knowledge of all the people who will be there. Ultimately, again, this year we are going across East Africa. And if all goes according to plan, I think by 2027, we should be going beyond East Africa. Because if you do Kenya, Uganda, TZ for 2-3 years, I think you've saturated it. Yeah? Let's see how much further we can go. Yeah. We have many. I was actually telling someone the other day, we have continental award shows in every single region of Africa. I don't know if it was you, Riz, I was telling you.
Yes.
If you go down south, there's the Luris. If you go to the west, there's the Picture Awards. If you go north, there's the African Crystal Awards. Yeah. All these awards cover the full 55 African countries. But for East Africa, we don't have such a thing. So I think the DMA is primed and positioned to be the award show that takes East Africa to Africa as a beginning. And maybe in the next 2-3 years, if we can achieve that, for me, that would be an amazing step for the DMA and the DMA committee. Yeah. And, of course, to Modoni and Rita, that would be an amazing thing for them as well. So, basically, as we turn 10 years old, that's the plan.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Whoa, 10 already. Wow.
Yeah, imagine.
And Riz, in terms of, we've had award shows in Kenya before.
Yes.
You know what happened to them.
Yes.
The fuel just ran out. Yeah. And just as we finish, what is this thing that we need to do as DMA to just keep it strong and keep it going beyond even the 10 years, with all the plans?
I think we're already doing it.
Yep.
It's not the thing that we need to do. I think it's the thing that we need to ramp up doing.
Okay.
We have never lacked talent in the region. I think it was a format and the process of how we did it previously, where, again, there was a heavy reliance on maybe, the perennial sponsors and what have you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that came with its own caveats. And I think also we need to acknowledge that the previous award shows and the formats that were there before, they did also set the foundation for us to build our house on. So, like I said again, we're all about talking up achievements. We never talk down anybody. But what we're doing right now is that it's a bit different because we're celebrating innovation, we're celebrating creativity, we are recognizing people in a way that was not recognized before. You don't have to come from a big background, you don't have to come from a large agency, you don't have to come from a large network. We're really celebrating creativity in whatever shape or form. But what we're doing is that we're not just celebrating it in a flim-flam manner. Yeah. We're also taking it through processes that then can leverage you from you just not being a very good practitioner at grassroots levels, but maybe at a national level and at a regional level. Also, what we're doing is we're also encouraging a lot of collaboration, and Brian just touched on that when he said a long time ago most of these awards were really awards for creatives. But now there's a lot of opportunity for co-creation with brand custodians and actual brand work. Like I said again, we're not just looking at awards that only do an amazing creative work for the sake of creativity, but like brand relevant work. Yeah. And I'm glad to say, we've got some very, very good brands, that really support us in a big way. If I'm allowed to mention, for example, EABL. EABL is very open-minded, very forward-thinking, because quite a number of brands will sort of want to, many brands are risk-averse, and you understand, they don't want to put their brands at disrepute because of maybe being excited or people going off the rails. But we have been fortunate enough to interact and collaborate with very bold, very brave brand managers. I can't mention them on this podcast, but they know themselves. And I think they've also been part of our journey when we look at creative work. And also, we've got also support, of all the other creative agencies. Gone are the days whereby people will look at you as a competitor, and then that means, you kind of have these biases in you. I think when I look at Brian, he is my creative partner, but at the same time, he's my competitor in a very nice, healthy way. Yeah. He pushes me, and we push each other. And that's what also we're doing, on an inter-agency level. What has made the DNAs a bit special is that, they've got this very robust participation by other agencies, whereby I know that I'm going to be going against a very, very formidable foe. But it's all about, improving and bringing up the standards of creativity and nothing else. No undercurrents of any negative nature. And I think lastly also is that we are setting industry standards. What started off as a niche initiative has now expanded its envelope. And like Brian rightly said, we've gone into East Africa and we saw that there's actually an appetite to take part, in this particular sort of initiative. And then we're thinking, if that picks up, why the hell not go regional? And we already have a mandate through our association with the Luris that, Luri is very well known on the continent and even globally. There are people who have never known what will be their entry level to credible awards platform. We are presenting that opportunity. So, circle back to your question. It's not what we need to do. It's what we're already doing, but we need to take it 3 or 4 levels higher.
Ramping it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And so, guys, if there's any question or anything you'd like to learn, we can get into it. Final remarks, guys. And maybe you can just point to the thing that you saw last year about the DMAs or an experience, or any final remarks so that we can close here.
Great. I think it's been a really, really wonderful conversation with you two gentlemen. People I respect a lot. I've been working with Riz for basically every single day. Riz and I must talk. It's wonderful being seated across from him in this podcast. And for me, this year, as we untame the DMA even more, what I'd like to encourage the creatives, because it's a bit early in the year, because the DMA is going to happen in December. This is the time for you to set those high standards for yourself for 2025. Start creating that amazing piece of work that you feel is going to transform not just your career, but transform the industry. The only way you get to your next paycheck, which is probably hopefully bigger than the one you're currently on as a creative, is by doing better work than what you did yesterday. And I always hear this phrase, for creatives, you're always judged by your last work, So let the next work you create be transformative and be worthy of having a DMA award sitting at your desk.
Yeah.
And that's the untamed nature of it. It's a lion that knows it's a lion. It may not have grown the mane, but it knows deep down it's born a lion. So it starts claiming its territory early enough. So that's what I'd encourage all the creatives out there to do.
Yeah, and it looks good. Let me show guys how it normally looks.
It was like it won't be seen.
It really wants to be untamed.
Yeah.
Make sure you cut that.
Though this is the previous model.
The new ones are really dope.
They're very elegant.
Yeah.
Really, we did Boy, the new ones are quite sleek and nice. I saw,
very elegant.
Modoni, do you have a DMA award somewhere near you? You can see them
in your bag.
If you go to
guys, let's close.
Our page, you can see them.
Final remarks. Cheers.
I think final remarks is again, first and foremost, thank you, Ms. Ayamina, for hosting us. Thank you, my chairman. I think the final remarks is that creativity and following our theme is that it's DMA Untamed. So being untamed means that we're not gonna restrict ourselves. We're not gonna shackle ourselves. And by that extension, I'm saying we are excited to see what is the new young talent gonna give us. And young talent, I don't mean in terms of demographic or age. Sometimes you can be somewhere as senior as I am, but you've got really, really fresh thinking. And it's just to encourage people not to fear integrating a lot of AI into their work, because it's been a bit of a contentious issue. But we have seen award platforms where there's been very, very good AI work. So it's not just AI for the sake of AI. And we always say that AI does not shackle your creativity. It actually enhances your creativity. We want to see what are the enhancements AI has done to your creativity. What has it boosted? So that then it becomes the thing we embrace, and people should not live in the fear that people say AI is going to replace creativity. No. Creatives with AI are going to replace creatives who don't use AI.
That's true.
That's it for me.
Well, guys, you've heard it. I think you wrote that punchline. The last one. It's really nice. Really nice, right?
Yeah.
Creatives using AI are going to replace creatives who are not using AI. And Brian also just said, Maze, you guys, we need to do these things early so that you increase your chances. Anytime you rush, you find you're not doing a very good case. You don't know, maybe you'll have won a pitch at that time. You're so busy in your agency, you can't even do the casing and you can't submit. So let's do it very early. Thank you, gentlemen. Brian and Mr. Rees himself. He rees what he rees. That's the sign of moving forward. Thank you, guys, and see you in the next one. Cheers.